Hi, my name is Troy Henry, running for mayor in the city of New Orleans.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Henry, for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
On behalf of the 60,000 audience members of NewOrleansBlack.com and NewOrleansFirst.com, we do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is designed to be a 10-minute interview for folks to get to know you better. So let's start with that. Who is Troy Henry? Start with that childhood. Who is Troy Henry?
Troy Henry grew up in the lower Ninth Ward, was a Hurricane Betsy victim. Later moved to Pontchartrain Park, St. Al grad. Went to Stanford and Carnegie Mellon with degrees in engineering.
Okay.
Spent a number of years in the corporate world. Ended up as president and chief operating officer of the largest water and wastewater company in America. Then later started my own company. Last year we did in excess of $20 million in business as a business owner.
Okay.
So over a 4-year period of time we've been able to grow business significantly. Involved civically, and just decided to run for mayor because I was concerned about the course, speed, and direction of where our city was headed.
Okay, now hold on, because that's question 2 for me. It's
okay.
like, you got a guy who, you know, clearly our audience, in hearing what they just did, talented on his business. I mean, it's crazy to run for mayor. Why would Troy Henry run for mayor? What do you want to get done?
Well, it's real simple. I was concerned, and I am concerned about the direction and the trajectory of our city. When I left New Orleans in 1978, New Orleans, Houston, and Atlanta were peer cities. When I moved back here in 1998, Houston and Atlanta had bypassed New Orleans, and New Orleans was still stuck in the mud. I believe the city of New Orleans needs to be transformed, and a lot of the transformation and how you drive transformation is going to come from the leadership in City Hall. I don't think that if you look at the skills and qualifications that I bring to the table and compare them to any of the other candidates running, I'm most equipped to transform this from a job space, from an overall management standpoint, from an elimination of blight and housing strategies. A lot of the different things that this city needs, I'm uniquely qualified to do that. That's why I'm running.
Let's talk about that. Typically when people...
is around housing and blight elimination.
Okay.
And basically we want to do what we're doing in Pontchartrain Park, what Wendell Pierce and I are doing in Pontchartrain Park. We want to do it on a citywide basis where residents can now have the ability to take advantage of the collective leverage associated with the monies available to be able to get housing at a very affordable price while aggressively attacking the blight problem.
And I think I've read on that. That's been a very good project.
Very good.
You mentioned business development, and you also threw in the DBE side.
Yes.
Clearly our audience is very interested in that. Currently there's at least an executive order, as I understand it, that it's 35% of projects that come through the city. And I think Mr. Arnie Filco and council now placed a 50% requirement for local. How do you feel about that? And under your administration, will that change in any direction, or how does that?
I'm in total support of it. I think the big challenge today is it's not being enforced. I am the only candidate running for office that's actually been part of this procurement process, and I've been in many ways a victim of the lack of enforcement as it relates to this.
Right.
Part of the reason I'm running is because I know that the pain that the local business communities are feeling. There's a mentality today that out-of-town firms, ICE is colder than an in-town firms. And we've got to change that. So part of my commitment is to making sure that priorities and preferences are going to go to local firms, period. Because they're the ones that have made the commitment to return in New Orleans, and they should be rewarded for that. Although we're not going to compromise on quality, but all of the things equal, we should make sure that the local firms, 100% of the time, get the preference.
Wow, I appreciate that.
As it relates to DBE, I'm a certified DBE. My company is one. So it's got to be enforced. Right now, the biggest thing you hear most firms will say, I don't have to comply because I couldn't find one. That is an unacceptable answer, and it will be unacceptable in my administration.
Good stuff. Talk about your administration and your management style. Sure. I mean, you come from the background that you do. You've got a lot of different successes under your belt. What is your style as mayor?
Well, I'm a believer in performance management. I'm a believer in holding people accountable for their performance from top to bottom. I also believe in making sure that there's a set of core values that emanate through the entire organization. The core values everyone in my organization is going to commit to is, first is respect, that every individual gets treated with respect and dignity. Second is integrity. I have zero tolerance for liars, cheats, and thieves. And if anybody does have lapses of integrity, we're going to deal with them swiftly and decisively. Third is going to be around communications. Open, honest communications in everything we do. And it's important because that involves transparency, that involves accountability. I've put in place performance management systems in every organization that I've managed today. The last core value is around excellence. For too long, the city of New Orleans has accepted mediocrity as the basis and the standard. And I want to make sure now we're being benchmarked, and we're benchmarking ourselves against the best.
That's awesome. I'm going to go to our Facebook friends, okay? They've had an opportunity to ask some questions, and I believe we went through and had an opportunity. I'm going to just ask one of them. How can urban communities get better funding for things like Boys and Girls Club and local parks and community centers?
Well, it's a twofold answer. One is I believe that there's better funding that exists through the current method and approach. We need to revise the current method and approach of how we raise revenue.
Okay.
My approach to that is, one, we need even and fair assessments. We also have assets that we need to make sure that currently that are on our books that we need to sell and monetize,
okay,
so that we can get short-term income for them. While we're doing that, at the same point in time, what we also need to bring to the table is one of the things, when you bring 40 to 50,000 new jobs, that's new housing, that's more sales tax, it's all of the things, property tax, et cetera, it's all of the things that we need in order to elevate the tax base. By elevating the tax base, it gives us the opportunity to raise the level of funding associated with those organizations. The last piece of that, though, is we have to be aggressive post-Katrina in working with the philanthropic community, because the philanthropic community is dying to help New Orleans.
Right.
But they need a mechanism and a leader that they can have confidence in that the money's going to go where it's going to go, and then also that it fits the standards that we're going to have them adhere to. They just need to plug into it.
Right. Talk to a little bit about the crime has been a major issue that we've been hearing a lot about.
Sure.
Talk to your crime program and that stuff.
Sure. It's a twofold approach. One is on the preventative end. The second is on the enforcement end. On the preventative end, most of us, we recognize that most of the violent crime is being committed by African American youth between 15 and 24 years old. And what you'll also find is most of them read somewhere north of a 4th grade reading level. And so what we've got to do is when these kids are dropping out of school, we've got to give them an alternative to a life on the streets.
Right.
So some of the vocational strategies are where I believe we need to put some of our investment in. The second piece is NOLA. We've got to make sure that NOLA is properly funded. We've got a dedicated millage and dedicated funding for our zoo, monkeys and zebras, but not for our kids. That just doesn't say the right things about our city.
Right.
From an enforcement standpoint, I'm a big believer in community policing. I'm a huge believer in it, and I think that as we do that, but I'm going to hire the Drew Brees of police chiefs, and I want to let them to kind of come up, develop the right approaches for law enforcement.
All right, beautiful. This has been a great interview. If you would please just speak to the audience and make sure they know who you are and what number you are on the ballot.
I'm Troy Henry, and I am by far, if you check at www.troyhenry.com, by far the most qualified candidate for mayor of the city of New Orleans. And I would humbly appreciate your support. Thank you. God bless you.